So how tempting is power? How tempting would it be for someone if they had the opportunity to have their team, their political tribe, in power in perpetuity, say for 30 years or so? As I've said now on a number of occasions, one of the drivers behind me putting together this project was trying to understand the degree to which people seem to prioritize their political team, their political tribe, over grander notions of the United States or grander notions of America. And the sense that my team has to win, my team is the right team, the other team, they're the bad team and they have to lose. I wanted to ask our guests this directly. So I asked kind of a hypothetical question. Essentially, I gave them two options. Option number one, your team can essentially win all elections for the next 30 years. That is, if you're a Republican, Republicans win. If you're a Democrat, Democrats win. And your team, your political tribe, your political party wins for the next 30 years. That is to say, they win the presidency, they win the House, they win the Senate. As a result, they can shape the Supreme Court as they wish. They can essentially shape policy for the next 3 decades as they wish. Your team is rolling. Your team wins. Power is essentially yours. Power is essentially your political tribes. That was option one. Option two was, okay, for the next 30 years, neither team really wins. One team wins a bit, the other team wins a bit. You know, they kind of muddle along, they advance the ball a little bit, but for the most part, there's a serious spirit of compromise and a serious desire to try and make things better and work together as the American people at least claim they want. So let's go ahead and see what all of our guests have to say to this question. And beyond just what they say, whether they want power or they don't, let's try and get a sense of what their explanations are, what their reasons are for their perspectives on this. You might find they're a little surprising.
Oh, option two, 100%.
The second option.
Option two.
I pick the second of the two options.
Oh, option one is terrible. I don't want somebody like me being in power.
100% bipartisan. One without question, without even any doubt.
I think realistically, option B is the better option.
I would ultimately pick the second option.
I don't even need to think about this one. I want the second one.
I would prefer to continue to have a government that functions like the democracy that it calls itself. Like, I guess we're technically a democratic republic. Nonetheless, we are supposed to be representing all people. And if one side continuously just won and had control, then there's a whole other part of the country that just consistently feels ignored and not heard. And that would lend itself to, I think, some level of I don't want to say war, but there's going to be a lot of upheaval. There's going to be a lot of discontent. And although it sounds like really nice and utopian to have all of your values be really important and like highlighted, there's still other people in this country that are never going to agree on everything, and they deserve to be heard. They deserve some of their values to be preserved.
I think everybody should be more centered. I don't, that's the point of this. If you want to live in a place where it's just one entity, one group, you don't have to worry about change ever. Move to your North Korea, go to places where it's not, discussions do not happen, where you can discuss things, where I think everybody should be more open-minded to, like, picture the two circles, and then the gray area in the middle that have what things happen when you combine ideas. And I think people should be more towards that. The majority of more people should be more towards that. That way people will get forgotten. Not everybody gets what they want. But if you're on one side, only one side gets what they want. Always, forever, for decades. And then if history shows us anything, the more that happens, the further away from the center you get. And like we just discussed, how hard would it be to pull back center? If you're so far off center, it's not going to take little chunks. It's not going to take little bites. It's not going to take an easy conversation, little bits of begrudging, arguments in Congress and stuff like that. It's going to take wars. It's going to take catastrophe. It's going to take serious crap going on to get us back to somewhat centered.
Option one, we become a dictatorship. To me,
of your own side in that case.
yeah, I mean, I just think that I also think that, like with anything else, diversity of thought, diversity of experience is really what's going to get you the best outcome. So I think if it's one party in rule for 30 years, it becomes too much about dogma, right? It becomes too narrow in its scope. So I think to really be able to solve problems, not just solve problems, but solve them well, you need that sort of different perspectives, different understanding to be able to do it for more people, right? Not just a narrow scope of people.
The founding fathers kind of created our government the way they did with a party system, for a reason. And I think it goes to a point that you made, or one of your a word you used, kind of like muddling along, making some changes. Like that's how our government was designed to function, to not have widespread changes in policy either way. It was made to have one or more, or two or more parties that like kind of like go back and forth, like pushing a noodle up a ramp, kind of thing. And so from a kind of like constitutional point of view, I think that is certainly the way to go, because I think having those discussions and having those arguments, while they may, devolve at some point, I think they are ultimately productive.
Because that aligns a lot more with how I feel about people in life in general, right? I don't want to be the majority. I don't want my thoughts and ideals and everything, but that would be kind of too perfect, and it would be a little weird, and it's not sustainable, and somebody's going to get assassinated. Very simple, right? Because that's it. When you do that, here's how I look at it, David, whether it's like good or bad, when you are like the majority on something and you have an opposing view, like you have somebody that's like really, really against you and they're not being heard. And even if there's elections and they're crushing it and blah, 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 it's always going to seem to the people that don't support you like this is rigged or this is not right or they're not getting heard. And so, no, I pick the other option.
If you just have one party with all the power, I mean, shit gets bad real fast, right? Because then there's no checks and balances. Some of my ideas are probably really bad because I don't have these lived experiences and stuff that other people have. So, I might not be taking them into consideration and stuff. So we absolutely need to have some sort of a bipartisan power structure. If I had it my way, we would get rid of this House and Senate and all this. It would be a parliament. We wouldn't have first past the post. We would have ranked voting and stuff like that. We need more voices representing the American people, not just Dems or Republicans.
And I think because I recognize that shifts are kind of pendular in nature, right? And I think to keep things balanced out, it's necessary for that pendulum to swing, right? If it swings all the way to one side for that long, the opposite swing is going to be really nasty. Also, I haven't lived everyone else's experience, and they haven't lived mine. Why would I think it would be wrong to try and impose, everything that I believe without respect for them and their experience. People that, grew up on the south side of Chicago have a very different relationship with guns than I do, right? Guns to me, I grew up hunting, served in the Marine Corps. They serve a very, very specific purpose, right? And I think that the idea, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. I think there's some truth in that, right? But if you're surrounded by bad guys with guns, you probably have a different view on what a gun is. So yeah, I don't think that one side should be in power. I think it would be a really dangerous thing, and I think that alienating an entire cohort of the population would be a really, really dangerous and bad thing.
because you don't want to surround yourself with sycophants. It's good to have outside views on things. It's good to have discussion. It's good to have maybe conflicting ideas discussed, at least. Okay. So just an insane period of just one side taking over maybe isn't for the best. It's good to have a system of checks and balances. Yeah, because
inevitably there would be a brewing discontent and a pretty significant backlash, I think, after that period. Any side, I think, gets too comfortable in power, they I think lose sight of some of the important things. And a lot of people have argued this about the Democrats, like they had a pretty strong run over the last 20 years and seem to have lost touch of the common man or the working class people and kind of, I think, got tunnel vision a little bit on supporting more of the corporate class and and I think that's part of a big reason why we're where we are today.
My side can't be trusted in the same way, right? It's like I don't love the idea of any one side being in power for that long, right? Like you look at the Obama years, that was like 4 years of the left being in real power, and it veered off the tracks a little bit, right? 30 years, I don't know. We can't be trusted with that kind of power. That's why I love the American system, right? Like, this is the whole point. No, I like it the way it is. I like it the way it is.
When I was starting this project, I put this question to a lot of folks before I even started recording interviews. I asked people, hey, is this a good question? Is that a bad question? I was trying to sort of get my script together. And when I asked people this question, and I asked this people who I wasn't interviewing, say, hey, do you think this is a reasonable thing to ask? Everyone said no. That's a stupid question, David. Don't ask it. Don't waste your time on it. Everyone is going to pick the first option. Everybody's going to say, I want my team to win. It's important that my team wins. As you can see by the reactions of our guests, that is just simply not the case. Over and over again, across essentially all of the interviews I conducted, people said over and over again, no. It needs to be some sort of a bipartisan thing. It needs to be something where the two teams have to work together. It needs to be something where neither team gets power for too long. And you kind of saw the trend in all of them, right? You saw some people saying, no, my team should not be in charge for that long, or power corrupts people, or this will go to people's heads, or you saw several of our guests say, people are going to start dying. There's going to be war in the streets. If that many Americans for that long feel like their perspectives are not seriously respected, are not seriously taken into account. I was pleasantly surprised by the degree to which people across the political spectrum, right, left, and center, all said that no one should have power for that long. Important perspective from our guests. I didn't know what they were going to say. Like I say, I kind of assumed everybody was going to say that they wanted their team to win for that long, and they didn't. Over and over again, they didn't. Like I say, that was a pleasant surprise. Okay, my name is David Combs. This is Nobody's Side. Hope you're enjoying. We'll see you in the next episode.